In a small village nestled between green hills and a sparkling river lived two brothers, Thomas and Samuel. Their home was a simple wooden cottage with a straw roof where the wind whispered through the cracks at night. The year was 1740, and life was hard but full of hope. Thomas, the older brother at 16, was tall and strong, with hands rough from working in the fields. Samuel, just 12, was smaller, with bright eyes and a quick smile, always dreaming of adventure. Their father had been a farmer, but he passed away 2 winters ago, leaving the boys and the mother to care for the land. Their mother, Mary, was kind but tired, her face lined with worry. The farm was their only source of food and money, but the soil was growing weary, and the crops were thin. The village whispered that the family might lose their land if they couldn't pay their debts. One crisp autumn morning, Thomas sat at a wobbly kitchen table, staring at a small pile of coins. "It's not enough," he said, his voice heavy. "The landlord will come soon, and we'll have nothing to give him." Samuel, peeling potatoes by the fire, looked up. "We can't give up, Thomas. There's got to be a way." Thomas sighed. "What way, Sam? The harvest was poor, and the market pays little for what we have." Samuel's eyes sparkled with an idea. "What about the old stories? The ones Father told us about the Silver Spring?" Thomas frowned. The Silver Spring was a legend in their village, a hidden spring deep in the darkwood forest, said to have water so pure it could heal any sickness. People believed its waters could be sold for a fortune to wealthy lords or merchants. But the forest was dangerous, full of wild animals and twisting paths where travelers got lost. "That's just a story," Thomas said. "No one's ever found it." "But what if it's real?" Samuel pressed. "If we find it, we could sell the water and save the farm. We could make Mother smile again." Thomas looked at his brother's eager face. Samuel's hope was like a candle in the dark, and though Thomas was afraid, he couldn't let that light go out. "All right," he said finally. "We'll try, but we go together, and we stay careful." The next dawn, the brothers packed a small bag with bread, cheese, and a water skin. They told their mother they were going to check traps in the woods, not wanting to worry her. With a rusty knife and a walking stick, they set off toward the darkwood forest, its tall trees looming like giants against the sky. The forest was cool and shadowy, with sunlight barely slipping through the leaves. Birds chirped, but their songs felt far away. The brothers walked for hours, following a faint path that soon disappeared. Samuel hummed a tune to keep their spirits up, while Thomas scanned the trees for danger. By noon, they were deep in the forest, and doubt crept into Thomas's heart. "We're lost, Sam," he admitted, sitting on a fallen log. This was a mistake. Samuel shook his head. "We can't stop now. Look." He pointed to a cluster of white flowers growing near stream. "Father said the Silver Spring is near flowers like these. We're close." Thomas wanted to argue, but Samuel's belief pulled him forward. They followed the stream, climbing over rocks and pushing through thorny bushes. As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange, they heard a soft, musical sound, like water dancing over stones. "There!" Samuel whispered, running ahead. Thomas followed, his heart pounding. They pushed through a curtain of vines and gasped. Before them was a small pool, its water shimmering like liquid silver under the fading light. Tiny bubbles rose from the bottom, and the air smelled clean and sweet. "It's real," Thomas said, his voice barely a whisper. He dipped his hand into the water, and it felt cool and soft, like a promise. Samuel filled their water skin, grinning so wide his face seemed to glow. "We did it, Thomas. We'll save the farm." But their joy was short-lived. As they turned to leave, a low growl echoed through the trees. A wolf, lean and gray, stepped into the clearing, its yellow eyes fixed on them. Thomas froze, his hand tightening on the walking stick. Samuel stepped behind him, clutching the water skin. "Stay calm," Thomas whispered. "Don't run." The wolf bared its teeth, circling closer. Thomas raised the stick, his heart hammering. He was strong, but he knew a wolf could outmatch him. Samuel's voice trembled. "What do we do?" Thomas swallowed his fear. "We face it together." He stepped forward, shouting, "Get back!" The wolf paused, surprised by the noise. Thomas swung the stick, not to hit but to scare. Samuel grabbed a rock and threw it, missing but startling the wolf further. For a moment, it seemed the wolf might attack. Then, with a snarl, it turned and vanished into shadows. Thomas's legs shook as he lowered the stick. Samuel hugged him tightly. "You were so brave." "You were too," Thomas said, ruffling his brother's hair. "Let's get home before anything else finds us." The journey back was long and dark, but the brothers felt lighter, the water skin heavy with hope. They reached their cottage just before dawn, exhausted but alive. Their mother was awake, worried, and scolded them for being gone so long. But when they showed her the silver water and told their story, her eyes filled with tears. "You're so brave, my boys," she said, hugging them close. The next day, Thomas and Samuel took the water to the market in the nearby town. A wealthy merchant, dressed in fine silk, tasted it and declared it the purest he'd ever known. He paid them a small bag of gold coins, more than enough to pay their debts and buy seeds for the next planting. Word of the brothers' adventure spread through the village. People stopped calling the Silver Spring a myth and started looking at Thomas and Samuel with respect. The farm began to thrive again, with new crops growing tall and strong. Their mother's smile returned, brighter than ever. But the brothers' story didn't end there. The forest had changed them. Thomas, once weighed down by worry, learned to trust in hope. Samuel, always dreaming, found courage he didn't know he had. They decided to help others, sharing the Silver Springs water with sick villagers who couldn't afford medicine. They never grew rich, but their hearts were full. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Samuel looked at Thomas. "Do you think we'll ever go on another adventure?" Thomas smiled. "Life's an adventure, Sam. As long as we're together, we'll face anything." And so, the brothers grew up side by side, their bond stronger than ever. They faced hard winters, new challenges, and moments of joy. Through it all, they remembered the Silver Spring, not just for its water, but for what it taught them, that courage and love could light the way, even in the darkest forest. Years later, when they were old men with gray hair and many stories, the village still told the tale of Thomas and Samuel. Children listened wide-eyed, dreaming of their own adventures. And somewhere in the darkwood forest, the Silver Spring bubbled quietly, waiting for the next brave soul to find it.